Today's podcast is a follow on from the previous episode where we looked at how identity can be a source of chronic stress. We looked at identity from the perspective of how we interpret ourselves. Now we're looking at when identity is based on achievement, it becomes a survival strategy. If you keep going until you break down and even then it's hard to stop, this conversation is for you. Do you know of achievers who can't stop, or might you be one of them? Even when they're exhausted, even when their family is asking them to slow down, even when their doctor tells them they need to make changes, even when their body is crying out for rest, they keep going. From the outside, it looks like commitment, it looks like ambition and resilience, but sometimes something much deeper is driving the behavior. Not every high achiever is driven by trauma. Many leaders are motivated by purpose, vision, and a genuine desire to make a difference in the world. And when you see high achievers working on purpose, it's inspiring. It feels like they were called to do that work. But in order for them to keep their light alive, they need balance. It's a cycle. Our work fuels our life, and our life energizes our work. But for some, achievement becomes more than service, more than a goal, more than expression. It becomes a survival strategy. Perhaps they grew up believing they had to earn love. Maybe they were only praised when they performed well, or failure wasn't an option. Maybe they experienced criticism, rejection, or instability. Without even realizing it, they learned a painful lesson. If I achieve, I'm valuable. If I keep producing, I'll be accepted. If I stop, I'll disappoint people. Those beliefs don't disappear when someone becomes a leader. They often become stronger. Why? Because success becomes a way of proving they are enough. The problem is that no amount of achievement can heal a wound that was meant to be solved through healing. Eventually, the body begins to tell a different story. Fatigue, anxiety, poor sleep, irritability, burnout. The body isn't the enemy. Though many become impatient when their bodies start to break down, and they reach for quick fixes out of fear, panic, or disappointment. But the body doesn't lie. Sometimes it's the last part of us that's still telling the truth. Are you willing to listen to the cries of your body? Are you willing to align with your deeper inner needs? Here's the tragedy. When their body finally forces a shutdown, many achievers and leaders don't respond with compassion. Oh no, they respond with shame. They don't say, I need to recover, I need to rest. Instead, they think, I've failed. But needing rest isn't failure. Being human isn't failure. Your value was never dependent on how much you produce. That was a misaligned message that became ingrained in you when you were younger. If this is you, and you wake up exhausted, you know you're tired, your body's telling you to slow down and pay attention, but another voice says, you can't stop now. People are counting on you. You've already fallen behind. You'll rest after this project. Just one more thing. It's almost like living with an internal taskmaster. The strange thing is, the body and the mind are having opposing conversations. They are in conflict. The body is saying, please stop, the mind is saying, not yet. The body's asking for restoration. The mind is stuck in survival. Here's a question. Which is telling the truth? The body or the mind? What many people do is try to force the body to align with the mind. But here's the second question. The voice that's compelling you to ignore your own needs, whose voice is it? It's important to recognize who this voice belongs to so you can let it go. What they fail to remember is the body, when partnered with, enhances and sustains long-term performance anyway. Then there's the guilt. Rest doesn't feel peaceful. Rest feels irritable. They sit on the couch for 10 minutes and instead of relaxing, their heart starts racing. Their mind starts producing a list. They remember emails, deadlines, things they should be doing. The guilt says, I'm wasting time. I should be productive. I'm lazy. I'm falling behind. So they get up, not because of a sudden burst of energy, but because guilt is louder than exhaustion. That is no way to live. There's another side to this scenario. Many high achievers don't actually know how tired they are. They've been living in survival mode for so long that stress feels normal. You see, they are functioning, they're smiling, they're showing up, they're delivering results. Everyone thinks they're doing brilliantly. Actually, in some circles, tiredness is seen as a badge of honor. Meanwhile, their nervous system is quietly paying the bill. Then one day, the body says, I'm done negotiating. And it forces a shutdown. When you ask someone who's breaking down from burnout, what would it be like if you gave yourself permission to rest? Often they say something like, that would be nice if only I could. That sentence says everything. It's not that they lack the desire to rest. They lack permission. Because somewhere along the way, they learned that rest had to be earned, that their value came from producing, that slowing down was unsafe, irresponsible, possibly even dangerous. If you've ever reached a point where your body made the decision for you, where you became so exhausted you physically couldn't keep going, ask yourself, why did it have to get that far? Why couldn't you stop earlier, weeks before, a month before, the day your body first whispered instead of screamed? Maybe you never truly believed you had permission. So, how do you give yourself permission? You simply say to yourself, I have permission to rest without guilt. I deserve this. I'm going to enjoy my rest. And allow yourself to feel comforted. So let's bring this into the real world. When you experience any signs of stress, don't ignore it. Acknowledge it. Identify the source. Second, give yourself permission to recover. The healthiest achievers, leaders, entrepreneurs understand something that changes everything. Achievement isn't everything they do. It is not who they are. They don't build their identity on performance. They lead from the confidence that they were always enough because their worth comes from who they were created to be, not from what they achieve. And because of that, they can rest without guilt. They can ask for help without feeling weak. They can say no without believing they're letting everyone down. They can even be vulnerable. If any part of today's conversation resonates with you, I'd encourage you to do one simple thing. Pause and ask yourself a question. If I could no longer achieve tomorrow, who would I believe I am? Don't rush to answer. Sit with the question, write it down, talk to someone you trust. Notice what emotions come up. Because the answer may reveal what's really driving you. If you could no longer achieve tomorrow, who are you? Healing doesn't mean losing ambition. It means decoupling your ambition from fear. You see, underneath the "I can't stop" mind chatter, there's a fear. Imagine leading because you're inspired, not because you're trying to prove your worth. Imagine working hard because you love what you do, not because you're afraid of stopping. Imagine success becoming an expression of who you are rather than the source of your identity. That's freedom. You were created in the image of the Most High, so your work, your achievements are expressions of your value. Look at it this way. A healthy tree produces delectable fruits, not to prove it's a tree, but because it's a tree. Working from your worth frees you, rather than working for your worth. There's a difference. Working for your worth is driven by fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of not living up to someone's expectations, fear of failure. Working from your worth is driven by purpose. One leaves you exhausted, the other leaves you fulfilled. So let's bring this into the real world. What if you're feeling overwhelmed? What can you do? First of all, remember this simple 3-step reset. Pause, question, remove. So first, pause. Take a couple deep breaths. Then ask yourself these 3 questions. What is the objective? What absolutely needs my attention today to meet that objective? Then, what am I doing simply because I feel I need to prove myself? Then give yourself permission to remove at least one thing from your list, because you're protecting your capacity to do what matters most. You want to make maintaining energy balance a daily practice until it becomes your lifestyle. Every morning, remind yourself, today I will work from my worth, not work for my worth. If there's one thing I'd like you to take away from today's discussion is this. Tomorrow morning, before you open your inbox, before you start checking things on your list, remind yourself, I don't have to earn my worth today. I already have it. I don't have to earn my worth today. I already have it. And as we said before, ask yourself, what is the objective? Focus your energy on what genuinely moves you toward that objective, and have the courage to let go of the tasks that are only feeding the need to prove yourself. In other words, give yourself permission to let things go. Success isn't about doing everything, it's about doing what matters from a place of wholeness, not fear. Because the healthiest, most effective leaders, entrepreneurs, achievers aren't the ones who constantly prove their worth. They're the ones who have learned to lead from it. And those who lead from freedom don't just achieve remarkable things, they create environments where other people are free to flourish as well. They know that their greatest value isn't in what they accomplish, but in who they are. And their achievements are simply a reflection of that. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this podcast blessed you, please like and subscribe. If you're interested in wellbeing advisory, feel free to message me. The link is in the description. Until then, have a good one. Catch you on the next one.